Peace, everyone. Welcome back to another Art Club live stream. Hope everyone had a lovely weekend. It's been getting a little bit warmer here, so it hasn't been too bad. I think last week I said I was going to start on the coat today, but I'm actually going to redo the hair. The more I look at the hair, the less and less I like it. So I'm gonna keep working on the hair, which just means that this project's gonna take a little bit longer. And I think the problem is that the contrast of the hair is just not strong enough for the highlights to read well as highlights. So that's what I'm going to do today. Probably not going to get to anything else, but that's fine. Whatever. Hey there, Claire, Linda. Good to see you. Hope you're doing good. Hope the weather is treating you well. I thought it was my eyes being tired that I couldn't really see all that well, but you know what it is? It's that the light is just so dull. Like the room is just not well lit, unfortunately, which has made doing traditional work next to unbearable, really. And I have two mediocre lights right now on, plus my overhead light. And goodness, it's almost hard to see. Just even the lines, it's like coloring in the dark, really. It even seems to be kind of dark on the video when I look at it on my screen. I just don't even know why. It's just so dark in my room. Hey there, Diane. I was doing some programming like usual this morning. Getting pretty close to getting another two projects complete, actually. I'm working on an arcade game for Anna and my mother-in-law. The idea is to give them a little arcade that they can choose which game to play. And right now I have four games, um, but only three of them are finished. Yeah, yeah. Three of them are completely finished. Wait, is it three? Yeah, yeah. Three of them are completely finished. I'm working on a clone of the Google Chrome dinosaur game where it's like the infinite runner and you have to jump over. You have to jump over and duck under things. And I was just going to reuse the assets. I believe they're open source anyway. But um, uh, Anna wanted it a duck, so I have been working on a animated sprite sheet for a duck instead of a dinosaur, and so that made it take a little bit longer, and that's what I was doing a bit of um, earlier, like just a few hours ago. That's what I was working on, a duck sprite sheet, and I just finished it, not not too soon, not too much time ago, maybe like an hour ago, and then I'm gonna get started on a base class to handle animations so that I have some utility functions for like iterating through the sprite sheet to create the animation and like just general animation stuff that I can use so that I can update the sprite sheet while the game is running. Oh, balmy -6 and -21 wind chill. Yeah, that's balmy indeed. Yeah, extra balmy. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I am going to do this little dinosaur game. I finished Tetris yesterday. Did I finish it yesterday? I think I've no no no. I think I finished it Saturday. I finished Tetris, and that was one of the main games. Honestly, since I started learning the program, Anna has kept asking me to make her Tetris, and now that I've gotten so good, uh, I shouldn't word it that way, but now that I've gotten good enough, I am making not only Tetris, but I'm making an arcade emulator where when you launch the game, it has like a main menu that gives you a selection screen, and you can choose what game you want to play. And Tetris is one of those games. I have a clicker target game, so you click on a target and it randomly spawns in another location. You have to click it really quickly, and that was probably the easiest game to make, but that was the first game that I made for the arcade. And then I have this one game that just spawns little balls and they bounce around the screen. And if they go below the screen, you lose a life. And you have a little paddle at the bottom to catch them, and then it bounces back. And I use some fun trigonometry to sort of aim the balls when you hit them. And and then I added extra lives, so it's just another simple game with just some basic physics and whatnot. And and then Tetris, and then the dinosaur. Well, actually, it's going to be a duck game now, but Tetrisphere. I don't know. I don't know what Tetrisphere is. Is that like, is it just Tetris with like different rule sets, or what's different about it than just regular Tetris? I'm unfamiliar. Yeah, yeah. There's there's I would say like the trigonometry that I've come across in all of my game development is very, very basic. Like you learn it in high school kind of thing. Um, I mean, you really only ever use sine and cosine. Like the other identities are kind of unused. I've never once came across anybody using like cotangent or or anything like that. I'm sure people have like tried to like force integrate it in some way, but sine and cosine, you know, their ratio makes tangent and cotangent, so it's like why overcomplicate it? And now that I think about it, I wonder. I actually don't know if the standard C++ library even has or even bothers adding in cotangent or tangent, um, because their math library does have sine and cosine, but I actually never even checked to see if it has tangent. Um, and I can't think of a context that, I mean, maybe for, I'm trying to think of a single context for it really, but that would that you would choose it over just using sine and cosine. I honestly can't think of a single reason why you would do it aside from shorthanding, like making the code shorter. But I just don't. I've never come across anybody using tangent before. I assume it exists in the library, though. I can't imagine that it doesn't. Aside from that, linear algebra, it, based on the past 18 months of learning game development, the only thing that I've ever seen is basic trigonometry and linear algebra with matrices. Matrices are used quite a lot. I'd say probably more so than trigonometry. Actually, they come in handy a ton because when you're dealing with like vertices and arrays, you're always working with two-dimensional arrays or three-dimensional arrays, depending on if you're making a 2D game or a 3D game. But you do a lot of operations with 2D arrays, even outside of the context of game development. So I think linear algebra is probably the more important math to understand or to be comfortable with. Uh, okay, that's what I was thinking, like a spherical Tetris. That would be kind of cool. It sounds like some trigonometry went into that game to determine the placement of blocks and stuff and rotation. The Tetris uses a little bit of 2D arrays. One to build the space in which blocks can exist, and then to draw the shapes or to determine the shapes of blocks uses uses a few two-dimensional arrays actually, but nothing mathematical really. Well, with the exception of rotation. Rotation actually does use just a touch of linear algebra with matrix multiplication. That's how you rotate. Very very convenient to be able to rotate a matrix with multiplication. So that's about the extent of math inside Tetris, or inside just basic Tetris. Nothing spherical. I don't even know what you'd have to do to approach that. I guess if I were to try to make a spherical Tetris game, what I would actually do um, is I would make 2D Tetris and then project it onto a sphere. And so, well, in that case, you would probably use calculus. Yeah, you'd probably use calculus for that. Did your chats not come through? Which ones? Well, I guess if I'm asking which ones they didn't go through, because I see that you said hi, and then you asked about the temperature, and I don't actually know if Diane's probably converting it to Celsius. I'm guessing. I don't know. The first two. I said hello, Chandri, didn't I? Did I say hello? I apologize if I didn't. But I see you said hello. But if there was something else other than that, then no, it did not come through. It's Fahrenheit. Geez, -6 Fahrenheit. Goodness gracious. Time to move to the south. Yeah, it got, I think we got down to like negative 14, but that's Celsius, so it's not as bad as negative 6 Fahrenheit. But this was a few days ago, maybe like Wednesday or something. Got pretty cold one night. And it sort of hit really fast. It was one of those nights where it just like dropped off a cliff in coldness. And because of that, um, the inside of my windshield was frozen because because it was just a little bit warmer. It condensed, and my car does not have good ventilation, and it cooled down so quickly that it condensed on the inside of the windshield. And when I went to take my mother-in-law to an appointment, um, I had to scrape the inside of the window, uh, as well as the outside. That was pretty interesting. And I have not had that happen before. I mean, I've had like fog on the inside of the window, but not like full fledged ice. And I'm talking like there was even a little icicle like by my mirror, my rear view mirror. There's a little icicle there. It had gotten so cold so quickly, but it warmed right back up like the next day. It was like a one night thing. It was there and then it wasn't. It was really cold, and then now it's not too bad. Now it's not too bad. I don't know what the temperature is right now, but um apparently it's 6. Apparently it's 6, so it's real quite nice. 6 is not bad. 6 is not bad for late January. Last year it stayed cold for a long time. I feel like it stayed cold until August. Like I was wearing a jacket or a coat pretty much the entire half of the year until right about August, when it finally like was warm enough to go outside without a hoodie or something, or a long sleeve sweater or something like that. It stayed cold for a really long time. So the fact that it's already 6 degrees is pretty crazy. Not sure I believe my phone that it's that warm out right now. It's good swimming weather. Should go for a swim. I've been I've been slacking on all good habits. My wife, she called me out yesterday about it. She's like, "You don't do anything but program. You should get back to your habits a little bit." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." Because I just get up. I just get up, I turn my computer on, and I'm sitting here just working on stuff until I go to sleep. Um, I mean, 12 hours is a short day. 12 hours is just a usual, regular, lazy day. And we were talking about it a little bit yesterday, um, because, like I said, she was telling me that I should get back into some of my other better habits, like washing my face and stuff. Um, but I was telling her, I was like, there's so much that I want to do, and I'm just so excited about it, and I love doing it. I don't know if I've ever had this level of motivation in anything in my entire life. Like, that's how much I am enjoying it. It doesn't feel like work or anything. It just, I know that it is. It's like a lot of work to do to make a game. And I sort of have I've sort of defined my goal for the year. Um, like it's well, I guess it's a soft goal, I suppose, because I'm not expecting to finish the game this year. But I have a clear picture of what I need to do, and it really just motivates me. Right now, I'm working on a few little like educational projects. Nothing too wild. Like I have 4 projects going on right now, and they take up a ridiculous amount of time. Um, the one project that I'm honestly at this point I'm actually ready to be done with, but it's the first thing that I do every morning. Um, and I mentioned it I think last week or the week before, but it's just the educational project. It's just pure code. There's no game. I mean, it's kind of gamified a little bit, but it's a console project, so just like shows text. It's basically it's basically like an RPG, like an old school text based RPG, but there's no RPG to it. It's just a an educational tool to learn design patterns. And I finished like laying out the whole project and creating all of the design patterns, so all 29 of them. And now I'm going back through each of them and polishing. So it's super tedious, extremely tedious. It's kind of like editing a book. Um, there's probably, if I had to guess, there's probably about, well, actually, what would that be? It'd be, I don't know, like 18,000. Yeah, like 18,000 lines of code, uh, roughly. Or, yeah, between 18,000 and 20,000 lines of code, I think is what I'm at. Um, and that's, I wouldn't call it sentences, but I think sentences is probably so like 20. Let's just say 15,000. I'll just stay conservative with 15,000. So like editing 15,000 sentences. That's kind of like what it is at this point. I still have to do a bit of programming, but a lot of it is editorial, honestly, because the systems are built. I'm just polishing them to make them present better, and read better. So that's I do one or two of those every morning, um, the polishing part, and it takes 3 to 4 hours, I'd say. I usually finish doing that around 10, 9 or 10. I think the hair looks a lot better. It has much more contrast to it. I do feel like the highlights read more like highlights. I'm going to add a little bit more layer of blue. Actually, I think I'll just layer the blue kind of throughout the hair. I think that might help, and then I'll blend it, and then I'll do the fluffy part of the jacket, and then I think that'll be it for this. I thought the hair was going to take me a little bit longer, but it's kind of coming together. I think another layer really benefited it. Yeah, time goes by so fast. Um, it goes by way too fast. I feel like I get nothing done every day. My GitHub repository would tell a different story, but man, it is a grind. It is a grind. Um, uh, yeah. So I was describing like my plans, my intentions for the near future. Um, so yeah, I want to finish this educational project because it's not the most interesting. project to work on because, like I said, it feels like I'm just editing a book at this point. But it is super beneficial in terms of learning these patterns to be able to use them, and that's really important. Fundamentals, honestly, if you just master fundamentals, you've basically mastered the art. So that's kind of like the grind that I'm in with that project, is just reiterating and reading it over and over and over again until it's so ingrained that I can actually remember it. Actually, I'm curious of how many patterns I can remember. Let's see. Let's. I'll try to count them off. So the first is the five principles, which is the a solid is the acronym. So you have the single responsibility. That's the S. The O is open close principle. The L is Liskov separation. Liskov separation principle. Um, I is the sorry, my wife just walked in with Amelia, making all kinds of unnecessary noises right now. Yeah, I like the hair a lot better now too. It definitely feels more like hair. It definitely needed an extra layer, 100%. What were we at? We are at four. SOLI. The um. Wow, the word. What is the word? Interface segregation. Interface segregation principle. That's the fourth one. The fifth one, D, is dependency inversion principle. So those are the five base principles. And then there's 24 patterns. The first patterns that I go over, I think, are the creation patterns. The first creation pattern is a singleton. The next one is a abstract, or is a factory, and then abstract factory, and then you have proxy and builder. So those are the five creational ones. The next ones that I'm working on, the what are they? There's creational, there's behavioral, and structural. I am on the structural ones. No. I got it. No, I'm on behavior. Yeah, I'm on behavior ones right now. And I've done or maybe they are structural, because I'm thinking bridge, because I think I did bridge yesterday. So maybe it is construct or structural. I don't know. So there's the bridge, and there's the interpreter, and that's 12. Then there's, oh goodness, it's hard to remember all these. Yeah, it's hard to remember them. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm too distracted. I'm too distracted. The little one is in the other room making noise, and it distracts me. Anyways, if I tried really hard, I could probably get to like 20. I think I could probably get to 20 if I didn't try to name them in order. But yeah, that project will probably be done by the end of the week, hopefully. No, wait a minute. I have like 14 left. No, I have 13 left. I finished 16 this morning. Number 16. So I have 13 left. 2 a day. Yeah, so like next Monday I'll be done, or Sunday I'll get finished with it. If I am able to maintain 2 a day. I didn't think I was going to do 2 today because the first one took so long. I did do a lot of refactoring. Yeah, once I have that finished, I'll have the arcade game project as well that I'm working on. I'll have that finished in probably the next week or so. those are the two big projects that are currently taking up like 80% of my time. I actually have been putting off working with 3D for a while, making a 3D engine, because trying to learn OpenGL on top of this is a nightmare. So I'm going to get back to working with OpenGL and learning that. Um, but I'm going to start making the second iteration of my game engine. So earlier this month, or no, it was like the middle of December. I finished working on the version 1 of my 2D game engine, and I definitely rushed the ending of it. Like, I didn't even put sound or animation handling or anything like that, and I quite literally just I finished it because of school, and I wanted to finish my chess game, and I needed to finish the engine, or at least have it in a finished state so that I could refactor my chess and get it done and operational, because I didn't have UI. And so version 1 is highly rushed, the end of it. So I'm actually going to I'm going to just jump straight into version 2, because I've learned so many new things this past month that I can rebuild the engine in a much cleaner, user-friendly way. So I'm going to do that. That's probably going to take me the entirety of February. If I grind as hard as I'm grinding right now, then I could maybe have it done by the end of February. But I think a more realistic, unrushed goal would be 2 months. So like the end of March. And once I have that engine done, I have to start learning building an isometric framework for the game that I actually want to try to make this year. And that's that. So isometric, by the way, is the style of game that is 2D, but it appears as 3D. So you probably seen some games like this, not to be confused with top down. So like the old school Zelda games, those are top down. They're not meant to appear 3D. Games like Diablo and Path of Exile, if you're familiar with either of those games, those are isometric. Essentially, you can think of it as like, this is 2D, but if I rotate it 45-degree angle and then I tilt it like this is isometric. And even though it's still 2D on the screen, it sort of has a three-dimensional element to it. It'd be a lot easier if I wasn't holding something so big. So if I do it like this would be considered top down, but if you rotate the image 45 degrees, which is about here, and then you tilt it like this, you can start to see that it has perspective, because you have this side of the object and you have this side of the object. So you have a side, and a top. So if you imagine it being a cube, you can see three sides of a cube. In the way, the reason it's called isometric is because it doesn't actually have any real perspective. Like, perspective doesn't exist. It's the idea of a camera that is infinitely zoomed in while infinitely moving away. So it has like zero perspective. And what it does is the cube that it creates has zero perspective, and the top shape and the side shapes are identical. So it's three diamond shapes that all fit together to create the appearance of a cube. And that is how you create an isometric perspective in 2 dimensions. And the It's not super complex. It just uses matricy multiplication, where you multiply by, so the you take a square, you take a perfect 1 by 1 square, and you multiply it by so each vertex, or each vertice on a square. So you would think of the top left being 0 0, the top right being 1 0, and the bottom left being 0 1, and then the bottom right being 1 1. You take that, and so you have those. You can create a matrix where this is the matrix 0 0. This is the matrix 1 0. This is the matrix 0 1, and this is the matrix 1 1. And you multiply those four matrices by a conversion matrix, which is, I forget what it is exactly, but I think it's 0.5 times 0.5 for this one. So this vertex, or this matrix for the upper left vertices, is multiplied by 0.5 by 0.5 matrix. This one here is multiplied by 0.5. 0.5? Yes. Yes, 0.5. No. 1.5 times 0.5. This one is multiplied by negative 0.5 and 0.5. And then this one is multiplied by negative 0.5. Yes, negative 0.5, negative 0.5. Yeah. So that's kind of how it works. And that transforms a square into a perfect isometric polygon, with infinite perspective. And then you just tile those, and you get a plane of isometric squares. Sorry, there was absolutely no reason whatsoever to explain that. Except it vastly interests me, and I love to talk about it. So I apologize for that. Let's see here. I'm going to use this color. I don't even know what to do with this furry part, actually. There's a little bit of like a rim light, but I might just ignore it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw this shape here. Okay, Linda. Absolutely. Absolutely enjoy the rest of your evening. It took me a second to remember your time zone, but yeah, evening. So have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave this shape here. That's like the highlight on that side, and then I'm gonna just scribble in a shape over here for the separation of the highlight and the shadow. I'm not trying to be super precise or anything, but just whatever. And then I'm going to lightly color this in with this. This is the shadow. And then I'm going to use black to darken the shadow. And I think I might actually just leave the highlight the paper color, because it's exactly the color that I need. This tan Clairefontaine multimedia paper for the win once again. Like this paper truly has become one of my all-time favorites. I love working on it, and the color is just perfection. And I think one of the best parts about this paper, aside from all of the other great qualities, is how even the color is. Because if you ever find yourself in an art store that has like loose leaf toned paper, um, and you look at the paper closely, you'll see that it's speckled. It's not like it's not a flat matte color. If you look closely, you can see like the fibers of the paper, especially the thicker ones. I'm trying to think. Strathmore is a really really common brand that you can find pretty much everywhere. If you look at the Strathmore toned papers, I mean it borderline looks like plywood. Um, it's so textured in the way that it looks. But with this paper just looks like it's purely this color. Very flat, super consistent, and is just the perfect color. Like they got everything right with this paper. I swear, it's just the best toned paper I've ever worked with. And I've worked with a lot of different brands of toned paper, and this one is just the most consistent and the most enjoyable to work with. And how many projects have we done on this paper where the color has quite literally just saved me because of the limitation of the 12 pack of PolyChromos. Like it feels like almost every project this paper has been the MVP. Oh, I'm so glad I reworked the hair. It looks 1,000% better. So much better. Does anybody want to help me out really quick? I have. Oh, I see your message, Diane, here in Discord with the Tetrasphere. That looks pretty cool. Um, so I need somebody to test my game. So I have a primitive build here, and I've been having some difficulty on my other computer trying to test it. And my laptop that I'm testing it on, or I tried to test it on, it's kind of old, and it just like I click it to open, and like nothing happens. And this is the first time that I've gone through the trouble of testing on my laptop. But if somebody is willing, I'll send it. I'll send the link. Um, it's just a Google Drive link. if I can get there. Share. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna send you the link, Diane. Hold on a second. There. I sent you the Google Drive link in Discord. All you got to do is unzip it and then double click the executable. Windows Defender will usually pop up and say like, "Oh, we don't know who this developer is. Are you sure about this?" And then you just click on more information and then click run anyway. Um, but yeah, just let me know if it runs for you, because I have made 4 or 5, I don't know, it's like 5 or 6 games using SFML, um, and I couldn't get this one to open. I was like, it's the first time that I'm doing a sort of a different workflow, so I'm just curious if it opens for you. And you can see I think there's 3 games in that version of the arcade that I just sent you. I think Tetris, the target clicker game, and then the ball game, the bounce game. So nothing too crazy, but I wanted to do some a build test, and I couldn't get it to work. And I mean, it runs perfectly fine on the computer that I built it on, but it doesn't seem to run on anything else. And I was like, that's a problem. Because I couldn't tell if it was working on my computer because of some special knowledge my computer has of the source code or the content folder or what, but it just was not working. And it was driving me crazy. And I don't have any friends that I can just hit up and be like, hey, test my game. So I asked my sister to, but she was snowed in, couldn't get to her computer, so I mean, fingers crossed it works, but I can't. I tried it on my mother-in-law's laptop and I tried it on my laptop. Both laptops are like 8 years old, so, and neither of them have a dedicated graphics card. It's just CPU integration, so I wasn't sure if that was the problem. My next step was test it on Anna's computer because she has a GPU on her laptop, but I just didn't get to it. I was kind of tired by the time I got to trying to figure out testing. Oh yeah, this is working. The black and the ochre, they blend pretty well together to make that color. Pretty much exact color that I needed. Maybe a little bit of blue. I'll add a little bit of blue to it. Probably the light ultramarine, I believe it's called. Yes. Just to get some blue tints in there, because it sort of has like a bluish light um, on the subject. So, and not to mention like their coat super blue, and that reflective light will make the shadows bluish. Every time I look up at my screen, I swear it's getting darker. Yes, let's add some blue now. I'm going to kind of use this to further blend it. The blue is, so this blue is a complement to the orange in the ochre. So that gives us a desaturating effect. So we're going to be pulling orange out of the ochre, which will really help sort of sell the idea that this fur is brown and not orange. So it'll turn more grayish. In general, I would say don't mix complementary colors together because you'll get mud. But if you have a good reason to, then do it with purpose. And it's really just the best way to tone down the intensity of colors. So if you have something where the red is too intense, you would use green to tone down the intensity of the red, and vice versa. If you had something that was a little bit too green, you would use red to turn down the intensity of the green. If you have something that's really blue, you would use orange to tone down the intensity of it, and then same thing. Something too orange, use blue. Something too purple, use yellow. Okie dokie. There are some highlights. I don't know if I want to put those highlights. I don't think they make sense. I'm not gonna do the highlights. I think I just leave it like that. Maybe I can, if I turn this light up a little bit. I should have had that light turned up all the way from the start. I didn't realize it was so low. That makes it show up a lot better. Oh, so kind of funny. I don't know if you noticed, but the camera did not shut off one single time. The stream, yeah, there was nothing wrong. It was that the electrical cable that plugs into the camera, it just wasn't pushed in all the way. That was it. I didn't know that. So it had not been plugged in fully, so it wasn't fully seated. So it was like the you blow on it and it would like disconnect from its electricity flow. And what did I do? I don't know what I was doing. I went to turn it on for the live stream. It just straight up wouldn't turn on. And I was like, so I started checking the wire and I was like moving the wire around to see if it was shorted somewhere. And it wasn't working. It just straight up was not turning on. So I unplugged it completely from the camera. And I don't know. I was like fiddling around. I was still checking the wire. I plugged it back in and uh, it still was like not turning on. And then I realized that I had it plugged into the wrong like port because there's two of them. And then I was like, oh, that's not the right place to plug it into. And then I found the right place and I felt the difference of where it was when I pulled it out into like, and so there should be no more issues with the camera. It was just not plugged in all the way. So, um, what it's been like a year. I think it's been a year, or close to. that the camera was not plugged in all the way, and that was it. It was just not plugged in. But anyways, uh, any luck there, Diane? If oh, you sent me a message. Um, so okay, I'll jump in a call with you on Discord if that's okay. But I'm gonna be done for now. Um, so thank you guys for coming by and hanging out. I always appreciate it. I'll see you um probably next Monday. Just probably to keep it a Monday thing, but I'll see you next Monday and we will get started on the jacket for real this time. And a couple more sessions and this project will be done. So have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. Stay warm, and I'll see you next time. Peace.